So good morning and welcome back to the Weight Escape. I have Brady Dale with us today. And I reached out to him on a personal level because he actually posted his story on Facebook, and it just spoke to me so much because I was like, I am sure that there are people out there that need to hear this. They need to hear what he's been through. They need a strong male young role model. Like, I have two teenage boys, and even for me, there's a lot of amazing people, but not everybody has been through that. Not everybody has been there and found their way out. And that's why it was so important for me to reach out to Brady. Brady's up in Alaska. He owns Fearless Fitness, as he's got his shirt on. I love it. So welcome, Brady. I would love it if you could just give us a little bit of a professional bio, and then we're going to jump into your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jen. Just a quick little bit about me. I am we call it Alaska grown up in here, in the big state. Born and raised in Palmer, Alaska. I still live here. This is my home. This is where, all of the great things are happening. Graduated high school 2012. I've been a personal trainer since right out of high school. Like, this is all I know. I pushed carts when I was 17. And then by the time I was 18, I got my first personal training certification. I started training right away. October, which is like 2 months away, will be 8 years in the personal training industry. I started Fearless Fitness September 1st, 2018. So our 2-year anniversary is like right around the corner. Since we started Fearless Fitness, we are a personal training service. I do not own a brick and mortar studio. I do not own a facility. I'm a contractor, and I have, as of August 1st, 2 employees, like full-time part-time employees who work with me inside the facility that I operate out of. Let's see. I think that pretty much covers it as far as just a quick bio. There's so much more to tell, but I mean, that's the gist of it. We focus primarily on functional fitness, corrective exercise, and injury prevention. I truly believe that that's like the foundation of all fitness, and that through those 3 things, we can help anybody. My youngest client right now is 21. I've trained as young as 12, and my oldest client right now is 83. So a very, very wide variety. And so I truly feel like we can help anybody.
That's awesome. So true, though. I love your foundation. So important. So I'm actually going to jump right in with you because, like I said, the reason I reached out and asked you was because you have a phenomenal story. And I would just love it if you could tell us your story.
Yeah, I'd love to. Hey, don't mind the dog in the background. I got a crazy almost 2-year-old Australian Shepherd, and he's off the walls. But yeah, let me share. So like I said, born and raised in Alaska. I grew up in a mostly overweight family. And I basically, from the time I was a second grader to the time I was a senior in high school, I was overweight. I've always been a bigger kid. I'm 6'2" now. I was about 4'11", 5 foot when I was in the second grade. So I've always been a tall kid. I grew really early. I was 6'2" by the time I was a sophomore in high school, right? So I've always been a big kid, but I've definitely always kept on weight. Ate a lot of junk food. Wasn't super active. I didn't really get into sports until middle school. Was a basketball player. Was never very good because I really I couldn't keep up. I was never in great shape. But yeah, I basically spent my entire childhood as an overweight, obese child. Okay. Never too terrible, but things definitely took a turn for the worse when I stepped on the scale my senior year of high school in December, and I was 295 pounds. And that was like devastating to me because I was always bigger. I always knew I was bigger, but man, when I got that physical done and I stepped on and I was like 5 pounds away from 300 pounds, I was devastated. 17 years old, and I never thought that I would be in that position. So that hit me hard. In addition to that, if any of you can imagine being 295 pounds as a high schooler, There's a lot of bullying that comes with that, a lot of just being looked down on and made fun of, um, a lot of verbal and physical abuse sustained from that. Um, I was always a bit of a recluse. I did not like talking, did not like chatting with people. I was not social in any way, shape, or form. Um, just not that kind of kid. Very, very low confidence. Not very happy with myself. Uh, the works, right? So stepping onto the scale at 295, um, which was actually closer around October of 2011, um, that that was a low for me, like definitely the lowest point in my life. And so 17 years old, again, as a senior in high school, I had actually had uh, a suicide plan um, in high school. Knew what I wanted to do, knew how I was going to do it. And I no details, but obviously I'm still here. Obviously I'm still around, but just had this, um, call it faith or God or destiny, whatever it is, um, provided me with just this realization that I don't have to live my life this way anymore. And so I can only describe it as like literally like the flip of a light switch where I went from, I mean, I was not active at all. I ate whatever I wanted, anything that was in front of me, junk food and takeout and fast food, as much as I wanted. Spent all my time in front of a TV, in front of a screen, in front of a computer. To, I mean, literally like a light switch. I was up at 5 a.m. every day. I went to the gym that was literally 2 miles away from my house that my family had a membership to. I worked out every single day for a minimum of 30 minutes, if not an hour. Went to school. I did half days as a senior, my second semester. So I had 4 classes a day. And then I got a job pushing carts at Safeway. So I was carrying groceries and pushing carts, um, 7, 8 hours a day. I worked full time while I was in high school. Um, and two of my classes, or sorry, one of my classes while I was in high school was a weight training class. So I was just moving all the time, working out, going to weight training classes, pushing carts, carrying groceries. So I was just active. I was constantly moving. And then it was like go home, do homework, sleep, wake up, rinse and repeat for my entire second semester of my senior year of high school. Not to mention, I just stopped eating junk food. I mean, I remember, oh my gosh, I was so sick of myself. I was so sick of who I was as a person that I was just like, I remember eating the nastiest tasting foods just because I knew it was better. Like I didn't know what I was doing. Like I was like unseasoned turkey burgers wrapped in lettuce, and that was it. Like no cheese, no like olive oil or salt and pepper. I was like, this is good for me. It's better than junk food. Like I hated it. I ate so much chicken breast that I almost am at a point where I refuse to eat it these days. Like that, like, I just went all in. I was taking these awful GNC vitamins, which I definitely don't recommend these days. But again, when I was 17 years old, I was trying it all. I was doing everything. So when it came down, it's like I stopped eating the junk food. I started doing protein shakes and eating salads and stopped eating sugar. Again, working out. I mean, realistically, I mean, I was moving 8+ hours a day, just constantly on my feet. Um, but without dragging on any longer, the first 6 months, so by the time I graduated high school from December to about May, I lost 65 pounds, just in that 5.5, 6 months. And then by the time October had rolled around, so 10 months, um, I was 185. So I'd lost 110 pounds in 10 months. And then shortly after I weighed in, I had earned my first personal training certification all around the same time. Um, so that's the gist of my story and where I'm at. And I've obviously been a personal trainer now for 8 years. Started my own business. Fearless Fitness is 2 years old. And again, I still to this day, I don't know kind of what caused the switch to flip. I don't know. People ask me all the time, like I said, God, faith, destiny. whatever it is. Um, all I know is that I'm grateful,
Mhm.
and I'm one of the luckiest people on the planet. I wake up every day just feeling lucky that I'm still here.
I just really want to acknowledge and tell you how much I appreciate your realness, because it's hard to come out and say, like, that was my rock bottom. And I actually, actually contemplated suicide. I didn't go through with it, but you had a plan. You had a how. You just didn't do it. And like you say, that flip switch, but I don't want to take away from that, because to be able to say that is huge. And there may be people listening that either have wondered or have been
Yeah,
there or are thinking or feel like that might be the only answer. So I
yeah,
really really respect the fact that you were vulnerable enough to say it.
yeah. And Jen, I want to touch a little extra on
Yeah.
that. And what I'll say is, like, look, if you're going through a hard time, if you're watching this, talk to someone, um, be, whether it's professionally or a friend, because I tell you what, I didn't tell anybody about my plan for probably 4 years. I kept it to myself. Um, and when like those 4 years, like even afterwards, I'll tell you what, that just that process, um, just losing the weight, I still kind of thought about, kind of where I was at then. And I had still let it affect me in a way because I never talked about it and I never shared that, and kind of let out those feelings to anybody. Um, and so I actually hit a kind of another low point in my life when I turned 21. Um, when I turned 21, I drank a lot, when I turned 21. Um, so I went basically on about, let's see, from April to December. So about an 8-month binge where I was just drinking very, very regularly. I actually hit another depression cycle and was actually hooked on antidepressants. Um, let's see, when this is 2015. Um, it was just on this cycle for 8 months of drinking and antidepressants and sleeping a lot and just not really feeling um, fulfilled, um, and just kind of hit a bad spot, and it didn't really get better. There were a couple of things that happened. Number one, I talked to somebody. I went and I sought help. First started with a friend, and then I went and I started seeing a therapist just to share and just to get some of it out. And so that was huge. And doing that helped me stop drinking, stop taking antidepressants. And it all kind of happened full circle. It was like, I just started talking, and then I made this declaration. I'll remember it, New Year's Eve, 2015. It was just like, I'm done. Like, I can't do it anymore. Um, I don't know that I was an addict. I just know that I think I was just in this habit, like this nasty habit where it's like I was just so upset with myself that it was like all I wanted to do was, again, just drink and sleep, like whatever would kind of just like make the next day come, whatever would just kind of get the day over with. And I was in a pretty nasty funk. Um, and then it's funny how things work out. Um, and the story's obviously changed a little bit because the story is always changing. I literally 2 weeks after I quit drinking and I gave up and threw out all my pills, I met who is now my ex fiance, which I'm totally okay with talking about. But I met her, who I was with for four years, um, and I think what is even more impactful was I met her mom, and her mom is the person who basically led me to meeting Todd and the mastermind. So I'll try and go through this kind of quick, but basically was working at the gym, and my ex's mom showed up, and I gave her kind of this tour of the facility. Keep in mind, not a very great facility, especially if you're in Alaska. Just, it's okay. Like, $30 a month, you get a membership, yada, yada, yada. And then I kind of just did my thing as a personal trainer, but basically walked her around, chatted with her. She really liked me. She's like, I really like you. You did a good job. Like, you're clearly doing a great job here and doing something that everyone else isn't doing. And so she signed her daughter up to train with me. She ended up getting a job there to be a trainer. But basically, her and her family moved up from San Diego, California just recently. Um, and she owned a business down there. FitX Fitness. And I think they were 25 years. They ran that business out of California. It still exists, but they have other people running it now that they live up here. But when she first started FitX Fitness, Larry Indiviglia was actually her partner. Like they worked together. Larry used to work for her. And so it's crazy. I know this is like total Alaska stuff. Like, because in Alaska, like we're such a small town in a big state, everyone knows everyone somehow. And so now we're having this conversation. It's like, wow, this is crazy. But basically was introduced to her and her family, and it was her family that brought me to Idea World in 2017 to meet Todd and to introduce me to Larry. And like it, and without that, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So it's interesting now because obviously, you know, I'm not with this gal anymore. We were together, we were engaged, we broke it off. But I think it's really interesting how people are put into our lives for very specific reasons, even if they weren't the reasons we had expected, you know, because I thought this person was put into my life to, you know, be my wife, you know, and be the mother of my kids. And then you go through all that and experience, you're like, no, her and this family, they were put here. They were brought to Alaska and put into my life to get me into the mastermind, to introduce me to something better than what I had. And so you don't always see it right away, and it's really hard. But I truly believe that every single person in our life is put there for one reason or another. Okay. So I'm very grateful for that, and very grateful that all of that was able to happen. Because like I said, without that chain of events, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. I wouldn't have met Todd. Wouldn't have, you know, even thought of starting my own business. Right. So it's funny how things work out.
Totally. I think it's interesting. And like I say, I really honor you for being willing to be that vulnerable, to let us into how deep things were, because, you know, like you just said, let's not skate around it. Like if you're really struggling that bad that you're contemplating suicide, you do need to reach out. But that can
Absolutely.
also be one of the hardest things to do. But like you said, whether it's a friend, whether it's whatever, but sometimes that first reach out, as you've demonstrated, leads to a completely different life.
Mm-hmm.
And now not only have you got yourself through it, you're now mentoring and leading and teaching and supporting others to be their healthiest. So I'd love to hear a little bit of your story about, you know, you got to Idea World. What happened from then? Because I've been watching
Yeah.
Facebook since then, even though we don't really know each other. I've kind
Yeah.
of watched the transformation, and I can tell you what it's looked like on the outside, but I'd love to
Sure.
know what it looks like on the inside, because it's not all easy.
Sure.
It's not
No,
all
it's
easy.
not. So it's interesting. So that was um, Idea World was a huge eye opener for me, especially in regards to A, the fitness industry, and B, the service industry. Okay. And what I'll say is, because I don't like to talk bad about people or anything like that, but what I will say is the standard for the fitness and the service industry up here in Alaska is so much lower than anywhere else in the country. Okay. Um, my first keynote, so the first presenter I saw at Idea World 2017 was actually Trina Gray. And so Trina Gray's presentation was actually the first presentation that got me like, dang, we aren't good enough in Alaska. Like we are so underperforming in how we take care of people, both employees and members, right, of a gym, that it's mind-boggling, right? Mind-boggling. And then Todd's keynote was the second one, and that was kind of like, I had this idea kind of like who I wanted to be. Like I knew I wanted to be a trainer. I knew I wanted to help people. And when I listened to Todd's keynote, I was like, I want to be Todd freaking Durkin. Like that's kind of how I felt. I was like he just, the things that he said like resonated with me so much that I was like this is like I knew I needed to emulate someone, and I immediately knew that like this is the guy, right? And so that was crazy to me. So I learned a lot. I learned that what I was being exposed to and kind of the environment I was in, it was toxic. It was and it was something that just wasn't right. And I didn't know that. I had no idea. And I think this is really important. It's like, I had no idea that I was in such a poor, toxic environment until I got out and saw something really, really great, right? Had no idea. And literally, that was like summer 2017. I started my business September 2018. That year of still working in that toxic environment was the hardest year I have ever worked, because I knew what I wanted to do. I knew how good things could be. They never got better. I knew they weren't going to get better. It was so hard, because when you're exposed to something like that. And I joined the mastermind, by the way, like as soon as I got home. Like they had the deal. Like I like on the flight home, I was like trying to get the internet to work on the plane and trying to sign up, and it didn't work. So I had to wait. Like I signed up for the Institute immediately. And so just learning all of that, and the information I took in, surrounding myself with the mastermind with 200 of the best personal trainers in the world and business owners, and like every day comparing it to where I'm at now, I was like, this isn't good enough. This is sad. Like it was depressing, like thinking about how poorly people were being treated and how poor of a service we were providing, and just knowing how much better we could be. But it's also hard to share that, because, when I look at it and I look at the people I was, surrounding myself with, it was like, they just don't get it. They haven't been exposed to something like the mastermind. They haven't been exposed to people like Todd Durkin. They don't understand. They think that this is good. And it was so hard. Like I couldn't change them. There was no way. And I tried really hard. I wanted to change. I wanted to bring these ideas back and change. But sometimes when people get stuck in their ways, all you can do is change you and do better for yourself and move on. And that was really hard to do, but it's ultimately what led to me wanting to start Fearless Fitness. Right. So it all happened for a reason, but that was, man, idea 2017. I will never forget that. That was a game changer for me. Game changer for me as far as my business goes, and just understanding like how people should be treated. And it follows me still to this day. I'm very grateful for that company that gave me the opportunity to be a trainer for 6 years. Right. But knowing it's not enough. Right. And so I think it's really easy, spent 6 years there, got so stuck into the habit of just kind of doing, because I remember when I signed up, I was a trainer, I was 19 years old, 18 years old actually. And I was like, man, I'm going to be a trainer here forever. They're like, they do like the whole questionnaire. When do you plan on, quitting? Or so, I think there was something in there. How long do you plan on being a trainer? I'm like, oh yeah, forever. Like, I'll just be here forever. No big deal. And then I was totally like, okay with accepting mediocrity. And then getting exposed to something amazing like the mastermind, and I just going to idea, right? Like people from Alaska, like idea 2017, I didn't meet anybody who was from Alaska when I was there. I felt like I was the only one. And then I actually went to Idea World last year, and I met with 4 other people from Alaska who were at Idea World. 4 in the biggest state in the country. There were 5 of us total that were there at Idea World, between 12,000 people, right? And so it was just, it's crazy to me. But yeah, I don't want to drag on too long about that, but man, it changed my business for sure.
I think it's really, really interesting, because I think a lot of listeners are really going to resonate with you, because you've got your story, your personal story of being so low. And like you said, you were hating yourself. And through your description of what you went through with your business and your business transformation, you basically also just described how people are in life. And I don't even know if you realize you do it, but it's like,
Absolutely.
you may be low, but you also may be in a situation like you were in, where, you don't realize that you're in a toxic environment, whether that's your body, your kitchen, your whatever. You've just settled for
Mm-hmm.
mediocre. You know that you might want something different, but you don't even know what different looks like, never mind if you're actually capable of it. And then you get exposed. And all of a sudden the mindset starts to change and things start to shift. And it's like, what if this is possible? What if I'm not treating myself as well as I could? What if I can do that? Like you've just taught such an amazing life lesson while describing
Yeah.
your business transformation.
Yeah. No, Jen, you're absolutely right. And look, everything I just talked about, the whole setting of getting in the habit of being used to mediocre, right? The settling for something that you're so much better than,
Mhm.
right? It's really easy, and it's not just in business, it's in every aspect of life. It's in your personal relationships, your professional relationships, your whether you're in a significant other or your kids. I mean, it's everything. Um and that's huge. It's huge. So um yeah, man, the number one thing that and this is something that I always, to this day, I think about, I think on a daily basis, is like, never settle for just good enough. Never settle for good enough. And I think that's such a big deal because, man, good enough is bad. I mean, I'll keep it at that because I know, I'm sure you have more things you want to talk about, but good enough is never enough.
I was fortunate enough, I think my first year, maybe second year of college, I had a professor say that. How do you define good enough? And of course we all were like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. He's like, so is
Yeah.
it good enough? And it's always stuck with me in my life. Of when I'm tired, I settle for good enough.
Mhm.
When this is going on, I settle, like, where are those parts in my life where I stop, either because I'm tired or my thinking, or, where if I just did this much more, that's where the big difference is to come. So yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. So
You
what are you
got it.
working on now? What inspires you now? I mean, obviously
What
you've got
in,
a great business.
what inspires me now? Um, you know, when I talk about fearless fitness and like our mission and what we want to do, um, my personal mission for fearless fitness is I want to save as many lives as possible. I truly believe that fitness saves lives, not just from a medical standpoint, but from an emotional standpoint. Fitness saved my life. Fitness was the thing that turned my life around. And anytime that I have a pitfall, anytime that I'm down, anytime that I'm going through something really rough, like, fitness is the thing that brings me back. Um, and I think this is why. It's because fitness is just a chance for us to do better and to create better versions of ourselves. And I think that should be the goal. And we talk about in mastermind all the time, and with Frank's team, do better, we're team do better. It's like just 1% in some aspect of life, 1% better every day. And so fitness is really that thing for me, um, that always keeps me going. um, and I want to share this is something that I wanted to share, um, because I'm finally comfortable talking about it. So it's been a year and 4 months since broke off my engagement, right? Um, and it's really interesting because I know I'm not the only one. There's plenty of relationships that don't work out, right? Where you have a plan, you have things that you're thinking about, you know, uh, and it's funny how life changes, like, bam, bam, bam. So just like a light switch when I was 17 years old, making this big change, like, it was like a light switch of, like, hey, I have a plan to have a wife and have kids, and like this whole thing planned out, to, like, bam, like, all of that's gone, right? And so it's like, obviously on a different spectrum, right? And so having to deal with that was really, really hard to begin with. But you know what? And I think this is really, really important. When I look at when I was able to reflect, because it took me like 6, 8 months to get over this and really reflect on everything. And I think that's good. But when I look back and I look at that, definitely being one of the harder times in my life was getting over that relationship, and that major shift in the plan that I had for my life, right? When I look at all of the other little things that have changed as well, it's hard to see at first, right? But remember, every person's put on this planet and in our lives for a specific reason. Okay. All of those things, they always make us better if we let them make us better. Okay. And I think that's really huge. And going through going through all of those things, going through the heartache, going through the depression and the suicidal thoughts and tendencies, going through even the bullying and the abuse, whether it's physical or verbal, all of those things that I've experienced, because I allow myself to now, because now I've made the decision and the realization to basically let those things make me a better person, right? Um, I know the kind of person I want to be now. Okay. So when I look back at, being bullied and being abused, I have this passion to help other people stop bullying. I have this thing within me that I want to stop childhood abuse, that I want to stop bullying in schools, that I want to teach kids how to help build other kids up who are going through a hard time. Okay. I want to help teach kids compassion and empathy because I didn't receive that as a kid. Okay. I want to help people get over suicidal thoughts and tendencies because of what I went through. I wouldn't be as passionate about that now if I hadn't. Okay. Going through that relationship, right, and getting over that getting over that in 6 to 8 months was probably the single greatest thing that has happened to me. And I tell people this, especially a lot lately, is like, for the first time in my life, I've learned exactly what I want out of life from a business perspective. I was able to reflect on all the things I did wrong. So now I know how I can be a better person, how when I, get to that point, how I can be the best father, the best husband that I can be, right? Um, when I look at what those things did to me and how they changed me and how I could see what was wrong and what I did wrong, how I can improve, how I can do just a little bit better every day. Like for the first time in my life, I'm really, really happy with exactly who I am, right? With the decisions that I make, right? I I do things for the first time in my life where I can make a decision, I can say something to somebody, I can act on something, and for the first time in my life, not feel sorry for it, right? I feel what I say and I'm trying to get people to do now is be unapologetically me, right? Without worry of someone else's opinion or what they might think of me or, you know, anything like that, right? Because everybody's got it, everybody's got a way that they're going to feel about you, and that's fine. But if I can be happy with me and the choices that I make and know that as long as I know that everything I'm doing is to help build other people up, right? And to make an impact on somebody's life, everyone else's opinion don't matter, right? What they say, what they think, like it doesn't matter, especially if it's negative. I don't need any of that. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. Neither does anybody else. So the point is, and this is something that I heard from Tony Robbins forever ago, is you have to let your pain drive you. Okay. You can let it destroy you or you can let it drive you. Either way, it's a choice. It's a decision to either wallow in self-pity, to be down, to let life kick you in the teeth. You know, we all know the Rocky quote, right? You know, life's going to kick you down, but you got to get back up, right? It's a decision. And it's not an easy decision. It is the hardest decision you will ever make in your entire life, okay? And it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, but if you can let pain drive you, um, man, it's so much better for your life. And I'll end with this. The number one way to let pain drive you is forgiveness. Okay. That was probably the hardest thing for me was forgiving other people, forgiving the bullies and forgiving the people in my life who really made my life hell, right? So what I thought, right? Now when I look back at my life, like I had it pretty good, in perspective. But when I was a kid, I didn't feel that way. It was hell to me. Forgiving those people was really hard. What's harder is forgiving yourself. Um, so I'll let it that.
I think that's beautiful. I think it's so true because we don't forgive ourselves very easily, for sure.
Yeah.
Don't. So
More love, less hate.
yes, I've kind of been ending a lot of our interviews with a question. and I'm going to
Okay.
go there with you because you've been so vulnerable with us to this point. But if you could go back, that 17-year-old self, right before the light switch turned off, and speak to him from who you are today, what
Oh
would
man.
you want to say?
So, I get to ask this a lot, and I think that um, it comes back to that thought that I had, and this is what I tell everyone. And this is kind of what um, this is one of the things that sort of started Fearless Fitness before it was. I had 4 words that I wanted Fearless Fitness to accompany, to be surrounded by. Man, this is so long ago because things have changed so much. But it was courage, compassion, positivity, and hope. And hope was the one. And so what I always want to tell people, and what I would say to my 17-year-old self, because I think it's kind of one thing that went through my head, is there is always hope for the best life you've ever dreamed of. Always, as long as you keep going. So I think that's it. Man, there's always hope. No matter how down you get or how deep the pit might seem, man, if you get up and you just keep climbing, there's always hope.
That's beautiful. So thank you. I don't want to wreck that. So I'm going to say thank you for being so real and so genuine with us today. Like you said, there's no accidents, and I knew that I needed to reach out to you, and now I know exactly why. I think a lot of people are going to be touched by what you've had to say. I know I am, for sure. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate you.
Hope so.
And we'll have your contact information. So if there's anybody out there hearing this that can relate or feels like, they need a mentor or they need to reach out to Brady, we will have his contact information as part of this interview. Don't hesitate
Yep.
to. Like he said, his mission is to help save lives, and that's not just a words for him. That's genuine. It's real. So please reach out.
Yeah. I tell everyone, look, I'm a resource for you. If you need, even if it's just an Instagram message, a Facebook message, if you need someone to unload, if you need an unbiased source or just someone to vent to, I've received paragraphs from total strangers who are just like, I need to vent. And if you're the kind of person you want to do that, or you need just a quick advice, shoot me a message on any of my platforms, Facebook, Instagram. All inquiries are welcome.
Yeah, take him up on it. That's all I can say. Take him up on it. So thanks again, Brady, and we will see the rest of you again tomorrow.